And good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Bob. I am your sensei, your griot here to tell you a story. And if you like this show, please tell others, subscribe, hit the bell, give us a thumbs up, a like, and send something to my PayPal. That'd be very nice. And that's the Dude Awake 42 at Gmail, Dude Awake 42 at Gmail. You can get a hold of me personally at my email, which is dudeawake42 at Gmail. And I will respond as soon as I can. But as you can hear, I'm out in the middle of nowhere. Someone gave me a homegrown tomato. Good. I've been chewing on this thing for the last 2 days. This is what's left of it. BB. Does not taste like something you get in the supermarket. Can't beat a homegrown tomato. Homegrown tomato. Morning, Clubby. Here it is Sunday. And what time is it? It's probably 9 something. 9:46. Oh, I've got 15, 20 minutes. I'm going to go to church. I go to fellowship, right? That's when we come together and we don't do ceremony. We talk about the Bible. You know, I go to 3 different churches. One, Ku Klux Klan, Southern Baptist Church, the Methodist We Own Everything Church, and the Roman Catholic Pagan Church. And they're very similar. They all have an ideology. They all have a liturgy. And you don't realize, I mean, I'm a big fan of the Old Testament. I just got this book. Oh, where is it? Here it is. The History Atlas of Judaism, right? Basically the Old Testament. And the Bible translated from Greek to Hebrew to Sumerian. Basically, it's books, and if you take it into before Sumerian, Babylon and the other guys, it's basically pages, right? And why the Torah is a big role is because it was made out of papyrus, right? And instead of having all these pages, they made a gigantic long roll of papyrus, about size of a tennis court, and then put the whole thing on one scroll, right? Not, 70, 120 pages, whatever, right? So, and the thing is, why they did that is because, again, the Bible means books, plural. And there's 66 books in the Bible, 44 authors. So it's very, all over the place, right? So the Old Testament, at the very least, is written on one scroll. And the guys who were writing down the story were trying to do their best to put it in a kind of linear context, right? And in reality, there is no linear context because God is not a linear God, and God, keeps saying the only guys going to heaven are the ungodly. And what does that mean? That means all those people in church who dress up nice, who are always saying the nice thing and being nice and pretending not to lie, cheat, or steal. But it's hard because humans are cheeky monkey kleptomaniacs, You go into that office where they want you to fill out a form, and there's this little cup of pens with the name of the company and all the swag all over it. And you pick it up and you fill out the form, and you hand the form to the person behind the desk, and you look at that pen, and then you stick two more in your pocket. Now, the first one is swag. What's swag? It's basically a quid quo pro of a transactional thing. They want all this information about you. They give a pen to fill out a form. They expect you to put that pen in your pocket. And that's why they have their name and their address and their phone number and their everything all over it. It's swag. It's advertisement, right? And so taking one is, I just forgot, right? Taking three, then you're stealing. Unless you ask the person behind the counter, hey, is it okay if I take a couple of these pens? And normally they'll say, sure, because it's swag and it's advertising. They know it. They've been told. But most people are very shy. They can't ask that question. So they'd rather steal rather than ask and then be given, right? And it's just hardwired into humans to do that. So lie, cheating, stealing, right? When you cheat on a test, who are you cheating? Yourself, right? Because you didn't study to learn that stuff, right? And if you don't like to take tests, you don't like this, you can go to the teacher and say, hey, listen, I'm actually reading the book. I'm actually taking notes. Actually, I'm understanding this. Why don't you have students, right? And let me show up and let's talk about what I'm learning. And so you can see that I learned this because I don't take tests too well. And most 99% of all teachers will be happy to do that because they want somebody in their office to talk to, right? So if you do that, it's a real simple way to be in the top 3% of your class. It's just listen to the teacher and go talk to them and spit it back at them and write some stuff, right? I used to write sci-fi stories, and the teachers loved it. That had all of the information in it. So, and that grew into being what I used to do as an itinerant scholar. And then it turned into, stories I wrote and were in journals and things. And then it, turned into my novels. And if you want, get a hold of me at the dudeawake42@gmail. And dudeawake42@gmail. All lowercase, all one thing, the dudeawake42@gmail, right? And say, hey, Sensei Bob, how you doing? Blah, blah, blah. And hey, this is who I am and this is what I've been doing. And I really love your channel, blah, blah, blah. I'd love to read your novels. And if you can receive Google Docs, I will send it to you. Right? So that's the story. It's churchy time in a few minutes. Let's see what time it is. I can get another 10 in here. So basically, every religion, those three that I go visit, and all those guys, they like me. They don't want to kill me. The Ku Klux Klan, I'm not, none of these folks do I spit in their face of their belief structures, because why should I? Right? The other day, if you go and watch my last few YouTubes, there's I go into the supermarket, my office with the elevator music, and was a guy who had like sherbet you get for like a buck and a half, right? I was had this gigantic thing on the table, and he was like eating this ice cream, and we started talking, right? And show it to you. There goes. Oh. So this one minister is a nice guy. He's really got the juice in him, but he's like kind of stuck in what he thinks he should be saying. Here we go. Pigpen is God. It's me eating lunch. And there's the guy. And that ice cream was this stuff called, so go watch Pigpen is God. Right? So this guy, we talked for, how long did we talk? For 4 minutes and 49 seconds, right? And as I talked to him, for about, 20 minutes before I took out the laptop and started the show, right? And I basically went out of my way to listen to him. And he was really quite interesting, right? And I have my little ways of getting people to spill the beans, and I tried everything I could, and not so much. Anyway, I was actually waiting for this other guy to show up, one of my students, who has become the Mojo, right? Or Moho, or Mo something, like Minister of Joy, right? And something or other. And that's he did, and he brought this tweaker with him, who that worked for 18 years. This guy. So he had a real attitude. Good example right here. So go ahead. You say one thing, talk about the kind of person you are, and I do that. So anyway, I've been telling him, right. So he did. So he had a manuscript. He found somebody to edit, and so he wrote this book about being happy, right? Which is great. But the guy he brought with him was not too happy. And there was another guy who was having lunch who has lunch there often, and I speak to him often. And he is basically a U.S. Marshal, right? And he was a U.S. Army Ranger. So this guy is buff. He can, take you apart. But he's not that big, and he's not very, he is, you know, well trained. So he's not, you know, showing that he can do this. So he's like sitting over in the corner, eating a sandwich, and he got himself a nice little, sandwich, that the supermarket makes, and they make pretty good sandwiches. And so he's got his whole wheat bread and vegetables, and I think chicken or tuna or something. And he has a bottle of water, right? And he's got a cup of ice, and he's got the water in it, and he's just doing that, and he's looking at something on his phone. And I've talked to him before. When he came in before these guys showed up, I said, "Hey, how you doing, Bob?" And he said, "Hey, Bob, how you doing?" And we had niceties, and I was talking to the guy with the ice cream, and I went back to him because I knew Bob, right? And he knows him. He's very observant, like me. He's trained like me, and we've tipped our hat to that. And so he basically, if I got my laptop open or your phone out, he doesn't really talk except, "Hey, how you doing?" And he feels like talking. We've had a number of interesting conversations. So anyway, and I kind of when I saw him, I kind of observed, and then I said, "Oh, let me read your poem," and I did, and that's my hook. And I spoke truth to him about things, and he was quite impressed. And then we had a nice conversation, and so he comes, not all the time, but at least and I'm not there all the time. Like right now, I don't have that much money, and if you could throw something in my PayPal, that'd be really great. If you could, like this show, if you could subscribe, hit that bell, make a comment, all the above, that would be really appreciated. So what else can I say? Anyway, so sitting there, and so this guy, this tweaker Steve guy, it just goes for some reason, picks on this guy because he's the only guy in that little sandwich room. Because the ice cream guy, he and I were talking. These two show up. Say hi to the boys, and the ice cream guy looks at these guys and puts the lid on the ice cream, puts it in the bag, put it in the roller coaster, and wheels away without any how you do or anything. And I had already talked to him for 20 minutes, and then 4 minutes on the video, and then somehow he stopped it, and we were continually talking for another half an hour. But I didn't notice because the picture was still on. But sometimes we had all of that. We already said, our pretty much our goodbyes. And so when those guys showed up, he just got up and left. I could just tell by his energetics, he did not like their energy. He did not like them. He wasn't going to say anything. He was just not going to be there. Right. And by this time, Mr. Marshall was eating a sandwich. And again, he is very cool at ignoring everything, but he's observing. Right. So he eats the sandwich. He's looking at his phone. He saw Mr. Ice Cream. He kind of heard our conversation, but it had gotten away from the really deep stuff we were going through. And the really deep stuff is when my show stopped. I really only got 4 minutes of Mr. Ice Cream, right? And so I when the boys came in, I reset it, and what had happened is the boys came in, they did their thing, "Hey, who's this guy? Oh, okay." And he went right away at the guy having a sandwich, and he goes, "Oh, look at you! Aren't you in good shape? Aren't you? So you work in the office, and you really..." And he just totally missed what he thinks he's reading this guy, and the guy just kind of looks at him once and looks back at his phone. Doesn't pay any frigging attention. Now I know this guy could, take this guy and turn him into 20 different pieces, in a second, and go back to a sandwich. So I try to intervene a little and be nice and try to shut the tweaker up without telling him to shut up and saying, "Oh, what kind of sandwich you got? They really do have good sandwiches, don't they?" Well, and, try to, deflect the conversation. And while I'm doing that, it's deflected the tweaker boy, so he can't go after this guy, and so he gets up and walks away. Right, and he looks, by this time I've gotten this running, and I've got my student talking to me, and I'm telling him I'm pleased that he has published a book, and and let me see it. So he's got a copy of it, and he goes, "Well, I can't give it to you, and we got a few left." I'm his teacher who kind of put him on the path to write this. So I do my Evelyn Wood speed reading thing, and it's much better than his manuscript, right? The person who edited it did a pretty good job. And, it's okay for a self-published book, right? And I brought a really interesting book that's all about how to be happy. And it's a process. This person has put together a course, like the Course in Miracles, course in being happy, right? So I brought it to him as a gift. And I said, so now you wrote this book. The next thing is to get on the media. And I said, that's why here on the show here on Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob. And, and so, so we start talking, and that's when the tweaker, because the other guy's totally ignoring him, and I've deflected all that angst, and he just says something nasty at the thing and goes off, right? And me and my student talk, and I let him go on about this, that, the other thing. And at a certain point, I do what I do, to get a rise out of people till I can plumb where they're at. And one of the things this guy would hate was when I would tell stories to basically amplify the energy, the psychic and emotional energy of their own angst by telling a story that had nothing to do with them, but it was all about them. Right? So I do this. And he doesn't do what he normally did, and that would be get upset. You're a terrible person. Blah blah blah. Why are you always talking about yourself? Blah, 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 blah. And he doesn't do that. And I'm going, oh, good. He's evolving. He's moving forward. That a boy. So then I let him go back to talk about himself and this and that, and the other thing. And the other guy shows back up, and he's brought himself a bag of chips and 6 bottles of really cold Heinekens, and he just. Right, and by the third, the guy has finished his sandwich and is gone before this guy can take the 4th beer to get enough juice in him to try to attack him or something. And that guy just goes. He's gone, right? And the guy is so into drinking, so he has drank 6 Heinekens without offering one to either of us, or chips. He's eaten the whole a big bag of chips. And, and so he's eaten a lot of carbs, a lot of salt, a lot of fat, drank 6 beers, and now he really needs a cigarette. So he's asking my friend for the car's keys because he's left the cigarettes in the car. And, my friend doesn't seem to trust him with the car keys and says, no, we're going to be going soon. And so we talk a little bit more, and he just gets more agitated, and he says all kinds of stuff. So you can watch it and see him do that. And then they leave, and that's the end of that one. So that's, Pigpen is God, and who flipped the switch, right? So that was, and there are like 2 or 3 ones. There's 2 or 3 that I've done since, and this is probably the 3rd, right? And how much juice do I have left? Okay, so I'm going to stop here, give or take. And I'm going to pick up again when I get to having brunch, right? And so I'm going to head over to the church, drive over to the church, and go to fellowship, right? And deliver this book to the minister. Because this is a really great book. This tells all the geography and everything, what was going on. That, the Old Testament really kind of gives, what city got, whacked, and who died and who begat and blah blah. This book gives you the real picture. So when you read the Old Testament and read this book really fills in all the spaces, right? So I'm going to give it to the minister so he can do a better job at, communing the feeling and essence of the what, and that's what this is. So, and this is very similar to a book I had, and I forgot what they're called. In the Bible, they talk about the Word, I mean the voice of God in the Bible, the Old Testament, and then it says all these other books that help you out to know what's going on, right? There's a term for them. I forget what it is. Well, this is one of those, in a newer sense, right? I had, when I was at a Lubavitcher studying to be a rabbi, had all these old things from the 19th century up to 1940, and they were in Hebrew and English, and that's what it allowed me to learn to read Hebrew, because they were right next to each other. And I couldn't, I read Hebrew in a better sense, meaning I wasn't like a Pharisee. I wasn't like the lawyer of the Talmud. I was just getting the juice, the vibration, the bing. And I hope my minister friend can read this and appreciate it, because he's a really reader. He likes studying, right? So he's a real studier. But he hasn't quite hit the scholarly point. He's more a litigic guy, more like a Pharisee. And in the Hebrew, there's the priests and priestesses. There's the rabbi, there is the Pharisee, and then there's two other types of Pharisees, one with an S and one with a T. I forget what they are. But they are, little guys who squabble over the crossing the T's and dotting the I's, right? So anyway, remember, hi, and subscribe, hit that bell, give a like, get more people to subscribe, and make some comments. This is a live chat. You guys are supposed to be chatting away. So here we are, 29 minutes. I'm going to be in 29 seconds. So I'm going to, no, 30, 30, I'm going to go out. 30, 30, I'm going to go out. So I love you. Right? So remember to pray, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, and will be done on earth as in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. As was in the beginning, is now, ever shall be. Love you guys. Catch you later.